Welcome to the FGA podcast. Here are your hosts, Skeet Jericho and Richard Longenhard. Good to see you again.
It's been a while.
Women.
Canada, Brooklyn.
Actually doing quite well on the home front. The house is not...
How's Annika?
Oh, she's great. Thank you for bringing her into my life.
All right, we got to get underway here. We have a lot to get to today on the Dick and Skeet FGA radio podcast. A lot to unpack in a short amount of time. What the goal of this podcast is going to be is to enlighten you. It's a champions podcast. It's going to enlighten you. We're going to get interviews from all of the champions of last year, and we're going to just get a glimpse into what they've done over the offseason, what they plan to do during the season, and a short excerpt on what they did do last season. We just want to gain that insight. The next podcast will dive deeper into the logistics and the changes coming into this year. But this is the 2018 FGA Champions podcast.
And I'm excited for this. It's always interesting to hear the outlook of the champions themselves and hear what they are planning for, hoping for in the upcoming season. So we may as well get right into it. First up, we have the McCall Masters champion, the Joel Pickering interview. And it's going to be really interesting. I actually sat down with him earlier for this interview, so it is pre-recorded, but some very good insight provided by Joel, and so here it is. Hello, Joel.
Hello, Skeet.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today on the Champions podcast. And I think that's right there the point of it. Congratulations. You were a champion last season. I'm sure it's nice to be sitting here as a champion. You won at McCall.
Well, we're sitting here at beautiful McCall right now,
Yes.
where I was, given my jacket last year, and hopefully coming up to defend it here in another month. But no, we're here at beautiful McCall, sitting in the sun. That's exactly where you want to be.
So, yeah, and as we sit here, we look out on the golf course itself and admire the beauty that it has. When you look out there, let's say you look at hole 9 right at the end. On that green, you became a champion last year, the first ever McCall Masters champion, along with your teammate, Jonah Brown-Hosian. Talk about that day and talk about the feeling it was to put on those green jackets.
I've never been so nervous for an event. Being the first event of the first circuit for the FGA, you needed to get off on the right foot. You never know what could happen if you lose the first tournament. Things can unravel from there. I wanted to get off on a good foot, and I know my partner Jonah Brown-Hosian did as well. And we battled. It was so hot that day, sweltering as McCall always will be, and we found a way to battle through all that emotion, all that jitter, and we found a way to get the win.
And we talk about the heat, not only temperature-wise, but the heat and of the pressure that was within that day at McCall. Was there a defining moment of that championship that will always stand out to you on that hot day?
There's got to be a couple. Us picking up the first point on hole 2, I believe.
Yes.
That just settled that right there. Settled me down, I know, considerably, and it was actually due to a partner play. It was 2 shots that equaled us getting a point out of that hole, and and that settled down my nerves considerably. I know that things went awry definitely around 6, I believe, is the island hole. Things did not go as planned there, and we dropped a point. We were actually behind a point at one point, but wow, Jonah's a bad battler, and we were able to get the job done. We needed a little help, and we got it, but we made the shots we had to.
And so now, looking ahead to next season, you're a 2-time major champion. You're a winner last season. What are your goals for this upcoming season on the FGA?
Obviously, to win as much as I can. But besides from that, I want to see marked improvement. I want to be at Lakeview. I want to be in it. I want to be in it at hole 9. That's all you can ask for at Lakeview. You can't ask to go up 4 at any point. You can't ask to go up 2. You can't win it. You can't ask to win it on 7, even though you can. But you can ask to be in it on 9, and that's where I want to be for sure this year. And then I want to, for my own personal game, I want to see my shots go down. I want to see year over year a shot improvement, and with that's guarantees me improvement at Crystal Ridge, which I don't expect to win. I would love to win, and I think I'll be able to fight to win, but I'd just like to be closer for longer in all of my tournaments this year.
Yeah. Well, we thank you so much for joining us today. We know we have a very busy preparation schedule before the season begins, but once again, congratulations for being on the Champions podcast this year, and we hope to see you again here next season.
I appreciate it. I really do. Thanks, Skeet.
So that was the pre-recorded interview with Joel Pickering, the McCall Masters champion, and he was absolutely outstanding throughout the season, not only at McCall. And I actually, even talked to Joel further, and he told me he wasn't as happy as he's been with his game when he played at McCall. But in saying that, he said he had to do what he had to do. He got the job done with his teammate Jonah, and that's why they were the first ever to don the green jacket. So it was great to have him for that interview.
What a nice interview. I didn't get to attend that one myself, but I was really I heard you had a good time going back to McCall and reliving kind of some of those moments.
Yeah, it is. It's and I know you sat down with Connor at Lakeview, and I'm sure you experienced the same thing. Just so much history now being built at at those courses, and only more to come. So that's exciting.
That's precisely it. And we're going to show you right here. But I'm really happy to present this interview specifically because how can you deny how good of a year he had? And it all truly did not get kicked off until Lakeview. So the run he had post Lakeview is what we'll talk about here in this interview. I hope you enjoy it. We're here at the Champions Suite at the Lakeview Reservoir Clubhouse. I'm joined by Connor Thompson, Crocodile Cup champ, Lakeview champ, Crystal Ridge Open champ. How does it make you feel?
Well, when you kind of lay it out like that, it's special to hear it, and it's nice to look back on the season and enjoy the successes that I had. But I know that this season's only going to get tougher, and but being back here at Lakeview and knowing the memories that we've built here, and it's nice, and it's always nice to be on a Champions podcast, that's for sure. But it was a great season, and I can't wait for 2018 to start.
Okay, let's talk about what did you do, or what have you been doing this off season? What do you need to continue to do going into not only Dragon's Head? That's more of a tune-up, as we all know. Yeah. But going into McCall, going into the circuit, what have you done, and what more do you need to do going into this year?
Last year was kind of one of the first years where I implemented a pretty strict fitness regimen, and I was happy to see the results that came from that. But so I've tried to maintain that, and but for this season, kind of the same old. Work through some film. look at my swing, look at some improvements I can make on the greens, just kind of some tune-ups here and there. It's hard to tell, really where you are in the process, especially when you live in Canada, as we all do in the FGA, and until you really get out there, you don't know where your game's at. So, as you brought up Dragon's Head, I'm very excited to get back to Dragon's Head. That's a great venue, and can't wait for it to be a sanctioned FGA event this season, just to get it kicked off and to start playing again in May. But just same old, same old. I had a good season last year, and just trying to duplicate the off-season program that I had last season, and hopefully the results follow as well.
What was the most special moment for you last year?
I think walking to the 9th tee box at the Open at Crystal Ridge. I think I remember leaving the 8th green, knowing I was in a really good position to win that golf tournament, and saying to myself, make a conscious effort, really remember this moment and take it all in, because it's so hard to win on the FGA circuit. You don't know when you're going to get this opportunity again. So I tried to really make that effort to take in the moment and really enjoy it. And I think I did a good job, because I still think back to that and I get chills. And so that was a really special moment, just myself and kind of walking alone down that concrete path with my thoughts, and knowing I was on the verge of not only an Open Championship, but the Crocodile Cup Championship itself. It was a really special moment. But any time as well at Lakeview, winning with a good friend in Jonah was also, it's always going to be special to have that as well. But those were the standouts for sure this year.
The history involving Lakeview has got to be special. So what is it? What kind of feelings come back while we're here, while we're back at the club? What emotions arise?
Pressure. That's probably the biggest one. I think, you look at the past Lakeview Classics, they've been nothing short of classics. They really have been difficult to win, and and it brings some anxiety even, but it also brings that feeling of we did it. We're champions. I've lost here though too, and it's a tough feeling. I've seen the jaws of Lakeview and what it can do to a golfer and an individual. So sitting here, right behind the 9th green and thinking about my 2 wins here, it's really special, and I love this golf course, and I can't wait to get back here for 2018.
Well, we can't wait to watch. Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson, and good luck in the new year.
Thank you very much.
Oh, so that was my interview with Mr. Thompson at Lakeview over this offseason. We brought it to you. Very interesting little comments he made. He's as hungry as ever, even after accomplishing so much last year. And what do you think of that, Skeet?
Well, it's interesting because of these facts. There's 3 players in the FGA circuit who are 1 win away from the career Grand Slam. That's Joel Pickering, Jonah Brown-Hosian, and Connor Thompson. These 3 are all 1 major short, where Pickering needs to win the Open, Brown-Hosian needs to win the Open, Thompson is 1 McCall Masters Championship away from that. So I think for him, that loss at McCall still stings. I think he wants to redeem himself there. I think he has the Triple Crown in sights, even though, my goodness, will that be difficult to pull off. I agree with you, though. He sounds hungry, and it's going to be very exciting to see what he can do this season.
Okay, I think we're going to bring in live, actually. This interview we're going to make sure we can get him. We're going to make sure we can get him here on the line, and then we'll bring you to live. And that is one of the winningest players on tour. It's Mr. Jonah Brown-Hosian. And man, is he ever ramp it up when he needs to? Oh,
the improvements he showed last season. He won the most improved player. He won 2 major championships. What a season! What a season! And
second in Crocodile Cup
standings.
Largely behind those 2 major wins, but that's what you got to do. Winning at the end of the day
it's huge.
It's the medicine.
Yeah. So I can't wait to hear this. So we're just going to bring him in right now via telephone.
See if we can get him on the line here.
On the line while your call is completed. Long-distance charges may apply.
Well, that's concerning.
What does that mean?
Is there do we have funding? Is that extra money to send?
Right. I'll send in a note here, see if we have the money.
We haven't got an email back in months from those commissioners, so...
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Brown-Hosian.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm not too bad, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
This is Dick and Skeet from FGA Radio calling.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Oh.
Happy to be here. Thank
We
you.
thought we lost you there. So thank you so much for joining us, Joan. I guess we'll start off with the first question. Talk about last season as a whole, and talk about winning the two majors that you did with the McCall Masters and the Lakeview Classic Championship.
Well, Skeet, I thought I had a great season last year. Played a lot better than the previous year. I worked harder and gave me 2 championships there, so I was pretty happy with my performance.
We loved watching it. You were the only member going into the Crystal Ridge Open who had a shot at the Triple Crown in one circuit, and is that ever exciting every time it's going to happen? But talk about what you're doing in this off season / what you are getting prepared for. I know you have not committed to Dragon's Head, so let's just talk about what you've done, and what you're doing in advance of McCall, at the very least, to prepare for the circuit.
Oh, well, there's some news there. I will be attending Dragon's Head, so you heard it here first.
Wow.
What a scoop we've got.
Breaking news.
What a scoop we've got.
Wow. This is huge, because even Shooter doesn't have this information. So this is, wow, thank you so much for letting us know here first.
That is fantastic to hear, and we are beyond excited to see you play in your first event this year, and to play it in an away event. I think you're going to be quite surprised at the layout of this course. 18 holes as opposed to the 9 you're used to in the circuit. Still a par 3 type course, still a short course like that, but just it takes a little bit more out of you. It's a little more hilly. I'm not sure if you've heard, but oh wow, are we ever excited to see you up in the away tournament, looking to make your mark even earlier this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I've been training here, waiting for the snow to melt, so I can actually get out onto the range again. But yeah, I'm training here, and I'm really looking forward to playing Dragon's Head this year, because I missed out on it last year.
Well, that is, I know the members themselves will be so excited to hear this news. And you bring up starting the season at Dragon's Head. That leads me to this question. The goals for you this season, what are they? What are you hoping to improve upon? And then from a results standpoint, if you would be so kind to share that with us.
So this year, I hope to defend both Lakeview and McCall. We'll see how that works, but I do hope to improve a lot at Crystal, if possible. I didn't have the best round last year, and I think I can do a lot better as long as I stick to my training schedule more.
That's fantastic. Of course, everybody took notice to the hard work you put in on the range throughout last season, and boy, did it pay off at those two major championships.
No kidding. A 2-time major champion in one circuit it's unfathomable for most people. So I want to take you back a little bit. I want to say, what was your defining moment if you were to pick one from last year's circuit?
I think it would probably be winning the McCall Championship first off. I'd never played that course before, and it was tough to get started, but ended up getting into the groove of things with my partner Joel, and it was a great round, I thought, for both of us in the end. I
would wholeheartedly agree. I think one blemish on that scorecard would be the island hole at 6, but you two both hit your shots when you needed to. You deserve that win. It was a hard fought win.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so now I guess just one more question for you before we let you go. Predictions for this year. If you were going to predict who would win the Crocodile Cup this season, who would you put at the top of that list?
I think I got to go back to Connor Thompson for that, to be honest. I think he played a really good season last year, and I think he can replicate that again. Obviously, we'll have to see how we go along the way, but it's looking good for him so far. I hear he's doing a lot of training in the off-season. He has been doing a lot of training in the off-season so far, so that should be interesting.
Yeah, and everyone knows you gotta beat the best to be the best. So I don't think anyone would fault you for picking a repeat. And it's hard to go against him when what he showed last year.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, we thank you so much, Jonah, for joining us today, and I we hope to see you back here at the Champions Podcast next year. As you know, only the champions of the past season get to be interviewed on this certain podcast. So once again, congratulations on a great season, and good luck in the upcoming season as well, where now we know starts at Dragon's Head in May.
Thank you very much. And if I may ask, Skeet, do you remember the bet we made last year in the?
All right, good to have you.
So thank you for that, Richard. Thank you. I don't know where he was going with that. As a Leafs fan, I can only assume if he calls back, please press end. That individual cannot bring that up.
We must have lost him there. I'm not really sure what happened. Must have dropped the call.
I was just thanking your phone at that point.
So, okay. Well, we thank you for being with us here on the Champions Podcast, and we would like to let you know that there will be a pre-circuit podcast. We're not going to be able to get together, I don't think, before the Dragon's Head event. Not enough room in the budget, especially after that long distance call. But we will be putting together a podcast, putting together a full slate. We're going to go with a full slate before McCall. We're going to get as many people in on it as possible. We're going to get as many predictions, as much analysis as we possibly can, and get a real good handle on that prior to McCall. But I know myself, I'm looking forward to Dragon's Head.
And me as well. Actually, for that event with Jonah's big announcement, Dick and I are very pleased to announce that we will both be on the course throughout the Dragon's Head event this season. Last year, we actually both had to miss it, and then we're watching from afar. But this season, we will be on the course with the players, and that makes 3 members who have committed to this Dragon's Head event in Connor Thompson, Joel Pickering, and Jonah Brown-Hosey, and actually the top 3 in the standings of the Crocodile Cup last season. Well, that basically wraps it up for this FGA podcast. We thank you so much again for tuning in into the Champions Podcast, and we will see you later. Good podcast.
Better.
Big boys know how to do big podcasts. Do we know this song yet?
No, it's the only song in our audio.
I like the harps that we included today.
Those were neat. Those were purchased though.
Were those Tchaikovsky or Beethoven? Is my question. Are you not cultured? Do you not know classical music?
Why are you asking that?
Harvard, so I know that stuff.
You dropped out after your first semester.
Well, so now you admit Harvard, not South Harvard.
No, you're South Harvard. You still
slipped up. You slipped up there.
You still dropped out. Harvard of the South.
I went to Harvard.
Harvard
There's
of
no
the
such
South.
thing as Harvard.
I believe it was Harvard of the South.
Such thing as Harvard.
It says on your shirt.
It's with my cousins.
Right.
Screw you.